Good morning. I hope you are feeling rested and well and ready for today. Today, I would like us to think about embracing inconsistency. This is actually one of my favorite subjects because there's so much kind of hot air and gas around, especially in the art world and in the sort of creative sectors around being consistent, and that consistency is one of the sort of goals to success, and that if you can be consistent in your output, then you are essentially a reliable person, a reliable creator. And what that really means is that you're actually just a reliable supplier. But I argue, and I feel very strongly about this, that consistency is not the creative's friend at all. In fact, even thinking and getting in that sort of cognitive space where we're really kind of overthinking what it is that we're creating, or overthinking that what we are creating is consistent with the rest of our work or our practice, is actually another one of those suppressions that we talked about in the last series. Anything that we kind of put in our way to sort of shackle us and confine us and to sort of hold us in a restricted space, when it comes to being creative, as you can imagine, it's just one of those real unnecessary barriers that we kind of put up, one of those unnecessary restrictions. And I know that some people do like a bit of restriction. They like to kind of hold themselves in a space. But that's actually something quite different. That's holding somebody in a space for them to be utterly creative. But when we're actually talking about consistency, I think what most people are thinking about is actually consistent style or output or product or kind of any one of those things, which is just really not what we want to be thinking about. So let's go back to embracing creative inconsistency and why we might want to just sort of let that be, when we might want to let that be a thing that we just sort of allow happen rather than over controlling it. As we kind of covered in the last series, we are defining and creating and embracing a feel for our creativity as a kind of free spirit of its own doing. And what I mean by that is in the kind of goal, if you like, or the place of deep creativity, which is where we kind of can and really want to be. The creativity itself needs the space to wander and meander and explore on its own terms without the influence and confines of other people's ideas and other people's constructs, such as, i.e., we need to be consistent. So I would say, and we could argue about this, and argue for this until the end of time. The creativity needs to explore. It needs to go exploring new boundaries as it sees fit. Because if it's not creating, it's effectively just doing. So we need to allow, and we want to allow, this superpower that's within us to go exploring on its own terms, and we enable that and we encourage that, like a sort of child just learning how to run or how to speak. You have to kind of trip up, you have to fall over, you have to kind of touch hot things, understand what cold things are, understand danger, understand safety, understand and play with different ways of communicating. It's a real learning curve. It's a real exploration and development, and it never stops. And so the trail from that, it may or may not be consistent. We don't care. Most likely it won't be consistent because we've kind of explored all sorts of different areas that just happen to be in our periphery or available to us. Or there's a lovely term called adjacent possibilities or adjacent potential. And that is like, if there's something there, go to it. If it's an adjacent potential, open it up. Very few people kind of get to look and observe and see and witness and have the freedom to exploit those adjacent potentials, but we do. But what you'll find, in any case, and this is the bit that's really overlooked by anybody dictating a particular flavour or a particular construct of consistency, is that the consistency is you the whole time. The consistency is your journey, it's your story. It's a consistent plight or a consistent searching, a consistent exploration of your own unique creativity. And we really mustn't do anything to shackle and confine and suppress the journey that our creativity wants to take, consistent and most likely are not. Try and just think about this throughout the day. Think about the areas or points in your life or situations that may have come up that have insisted on a form of consistency, and just think about how you might or may not have actually responded or identified and treated that differently in these kind of new thoughts. This is such a fun and interesting thing to think about once you start to experience it in the real world. Alright, take care, have a beautiful day, and I'll be back soon.